Today I'm talking about one of my favorite acts of product placement, Popples, Springtime's a Poppin'.
Hold on tight, it's Popple time!
1, 2, 3, 4!
Popples are back, and I'm only 5 years late to the party. While everyone's been talking about the Dune reboot and Animaniacs coming back, I've been spiraling into nostalgia insanity ever since I found out they attempted to remake the Garbage Pail Kids movie back in 2012. So I think now is a perfect time to look back on this particular 80s fad and get some perspective on the nostalgic hellscape we live in. Popples are strange. They were conceived by Susan Trentell, who helped create the Care Bears and Strawberry Shortcake, and apparently all the inspiration she needed for Popples came to her when she was folding socks. The socks just needed a sound effect and then a name based on the sound effect, upon which endless puns could be made. And it was the perfect time for a new cuddly conception. During the mid-80s, you had Strawberry Shortcake TV specials, the Care Bears show, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and a Cabbage Patch Christmas special. Entertainment and consumerism had merged into a leviathan, a beast that was especially aggressive towards children. In the late 70s, the Federal Trade Commission was going to ban advertising to children 8 and under. At the forefront of their concern were cereal companies, who were starting to really push their sugary confections onto kids through television ads. But companies weren't having it. As a lawyer for Kellogg's put it, the last thing we need the next 20 years is a national nanny. And Congress agreed, and in 1980 passed the FTC Improvement Act, essentially stripping the Federal Trade Commission of any real authority. When the Reagan administration took office, from 1981 to 1989, they allowed the free market to go even further, after tricking enough Americans into believing in trickle-down economics. So by 1984, children's television was nearly entirely unregulated. This is why the 80s are so packed to the brim with nostalgic toys and media that people look back on fondly. But it wasn't just a special time of creativity, it was a calculated strategy. The goal was simple: intertwine children's entertainment in marketable products.
This could get wild and crazy. Either way, nudge me when it's over.
Kids develop strong attachments to characters. They bring stability and comfort. And back in the 50s, you might have found a kid with a Lone Ranger lunchbox. But in the 80s, all bets were off. You could have your favorite character on practically anything. And this has in no way slowed down, as most of us know. It has just been normalized. And it's here to stay because it works. It's why Kraft's SpongeBob SquarePants Mac and Cheese is Kraft's all-time best-selling shape. So this is why the Popples made the jump to television. Oddly enough, Shelley Duvall led the making of the Popples. She produced and co-wrote a live-action adaptation. The puppets were great. They were actually made by the Chiodo brothers of Killer Clowns from Outer Space and Critters fame. The voice acting was great, and the theme song was so good.
Poppets magic, Popple magic, it happens every day.
Goodwill, the company, was also bizarrely integral to the plot.
Magic in a Goodwill?
As the Popples were accidentally donated, and then the family goes from Goodwill to track them down.
Lighten up, Mom. It's magic.
Once found, the Popples kill an old lady to escape, and then that awesome musical number returns once more before the credits.
Poppets magic, Popple magic, it happens every day.
The pilot would prove successful, and the Popples went on to have an animated 2-season run, and Shelley's initial setup would remain largely unchanged. The series centered around 2 children, Bonnie and Billy, who in going about their lives would have to rein in the Popples' chaos. There were 9 original Popples, of which included PC, short for Pretty Cool, Puffball, Potato Chip, Party, and my favorite, Prize. Each Popple had their own quirks, some being more strange than others. Prize was just very vain and had a crush on PC, which leads to some wonderful flirtatious dialogue.
I have 3 rules. I don't do-si-do. I don't get dirty. And I never get wet.
But they also had some very interesting powers. Their pouches, for example, contained an endless void filled with miscellaneous objects they could pull out whenever needed. Now, the episode in question, Popples, Springtime's a Poppin', was given to me on a VHS when I was a teenager. And regardless if you're watching it for absurdity or genuine entertainment, the show makes you smile. I also just love the title, and every year when the snow thaws, I say with the deepest sincerity, Springtime's a Poppin'. The 2015 revival is painfully bad. CGI children's shows are commonplace nowadays, so I'll ignore that, but the writing is just lazy. The entirety of the humor revolves around farts or shoving pop into a word. But the Popples aren't alone. The Care Bears are back. Strawberry Shortcake comes back every few years, and nearly any show you feel nostalgia over, you're pretty much guaranteed is coming back or has come back already. But nostalgia isn't the problem. As the decades turned, public interest shifted from futurism to a focus on the present to nostalgia. And the most common theory for this is that nostalgia brings comfort and escapism. And for those who grew up in the 80s and 90s, they saw their world around them go from boom to bust. So it makes a lot of sense that millennials are the generation feeding the nostalgia machine the most. The current state of things don't look so great, and nostalgia can bring a sense of stability. But the problem is that no one is actually trying to make you feel good. No one rebooted the Ghostbusters to make you feel warm and secure. These reboots are solely out for your money. This is just a case of double dipping. The corporate chip got a great scoop dipping into your wallet in the 80s, and now it's coming back for more. Double dipping is such a good method that the timeline is speeding up. The 90s are getting revived, and so are the 2000s. I am not suggesting that nostalgia should be avoided, nor am I saying that any reboot is bad for solely being a regurgitation. I am simply giving a friendly reminder that this has been the game plan all along. The marketing was implanted in us as children, and they're coming to collect their pop fits.
When it's time to kick your heels, see how good it really feels. Get another point of view. It's time that you tried something